Hello, everybody, and happy Saturday. Welcome to MACHTAILS from the Cantina, another round, the podcast edition of this almost 2 years running show. Yes, we are on episode 51 and a half, which means there are 51 other episodes, and you need to become a Patreon member to tune in to the other 51 episodes. This is a take two. I just recorded a 36-minute podcast episode, but I forgot to add myself to the stream. You see, we usually do this video style, right? We got the YouTube episodes, we got the mocktails from the Cantina Live, and I usually do this with my good friend and Patreon brother Tyler Page, but I'm doing this solo tonight. And you got to work out the bugs. So this is take two. The first one was just kind of a rehearsal. So thank you for you guys tuning in via Facebook Live. Don't forget Patreon. I know you probably feel a little bit like Ralphie, right? You go home, you turn on the radio, you're listening to the Ovaltine commercial, and at the end you say, "Oh, a crummy commercial." Yes, this is a crummy commercial for Mocktails from the Cantina Patreon, where we have 51 episodes, soon to be 52 episodes of the weekly podcast show. Inside the Wampa Cave, which is a weekly look, a virtual look inside my personal Star Wars collection. And then we also have a segment called Inside the Vault, where you can take a journey into a behind the scenes segment of one of my many highly acclaimed films on Amazon. The Force Among Us, The Force Within Us, The Walkers Among Us, the real fans of the saga, even saying goodbye to Jeffrey is part of that. But hey, I gotta say happy birthday to my brother, Sean. Adam D, welcome back to part two of this. Sean Hines, it is his birthday, so happy birthday, Sean. He is at C2E2. C2E2 is happening in December, which is kind of strange because COVID had kind of just derailed everything and had put this in the holiday season, which we're 2 weeks away from Christmas Day today. And I'm going to get into, on this episode, I am going to get into some Muppet holiday special episodes that I've loved. I'm going to talk about Star Wars during the holiday season, as well as my thoughts and feelings on the Book of Boba Fett. Speaking about Fett, Sean, as you know from real fans of the saga, he does this Mandalorian mashup thing. And I recommended to him that he create a Santa Fett. And lo and behold, he's done it, my friends. He's done it today if you were at C2E2 in Chicago. And if you had seen Santa Fett himself, hopefully you're on the naughty list. I'm sorry, hopefully you're on the nice list. Hey, if you're in the bedroom, hopefully you're on the naughty list. But Sean was out there on his birthday with his wife, Lisa Hines, walking the floor. I was going to go to the convention tomorrow, but I just cannot pay $45 for a ticket to roam the floor as a cosplayer. I just can't. Yeah, $45, that's not bad for a convention price. But if you're just going to go and do the cosplay thing, to me, that's kind of, it's the holiday season, man. We're on a budget, right? I realized today that I have a problem. My wife had identified my problem as a compulsive shopper. I had identified my problem as that I have a hole in my wallet. And my daughter says, "Well, Daddy, what does that mean?" And I said, that just means the money that goes in your wallet quickly leaves the wallet. I cannot go into Target or Walmart or get online without spending some kind of cash, especially buying gifts for friends and family, buying and adding to my Star Wars Christmas collection, or even adding to my Christmas collection itself. It is quite extensive. I like to think that it is even more extensive than Steven Sansweet's collection, which you guys can go back and watch. Mocktails from the Cantina, episode 25 it is. 25 is where we're kind of stalled at this point. But Steven Sansweet, I like to think that I have a bigger collection than him when it comes to Star Wars Christmas items. Because I'm a completist in that department. I am a completist in that department. But I would really love to see Steve's Star Wars Christmas collection. There's something very nostalgic about Star Wars during the holiday season, right? Star Wars to us fans that were around during the OT, the original trilogy, Star Wars toys were the number one seller. From 1978, when they were released with the early bird kit during Christmas, all the way until at least, let's be honest, at least until 1982. At least until 1982, because I feel like the fans that grew up with the New Hope and Empire, they were moving on. They were getting interested in the ladies, so they were getting out of toy collecting and playing with toys. As sadly enough, my daughter's kind of on that brink. She's on that verge of, this year she's going to get some toys for Christmas, but as well as some clothes and whatnot, I'm sure, from Santa Claus himself. But there's a lot of fans that grew up that grew out of it by Return of the Jedi, including my good friend, Jimmy Mac. He said his Return of the Jedi collection is not that great because by that time he moved on to cars and ladies. And for me, G.I. Joe, He-Man, those were really big things. I hate to be blasphemous, especially on a Star Wars themed show, but those are things that really kind of were the death of Star Wars, especially during the holiday time, because we already had the Star Wars toys that we had wanted at that point. The greatest thing that I ever got for Christmas, Star Wars related, was the Millennium Falcon. Non-Star Wars related things that I got for Christmas that I still hold dear to my heart: the original Nintendo Entertainment System in 1986, and my first guitar that I still play. I still play guitar, but not the first guitar that I got in 1987. There was a really bad windstorm that ripped through the Midwest this weekend. It created, I should say, a tornado that ripped through an Amazon distribution center that killed a couple people. And it ended up in, I don't know if probably the same system ended up in Kentucky, because they had tornadoes as well. Bowling Green, I see a lot of people on Facebook, and thank you to you guys that are checking in on Facebook Live. This is a first. I've never done a podcast episode and released it to the wild to you folks on Facebook Live. I know we're started streaming the Mocktails live episodes this way. I figured I'd give you a taste of what you can get if you become a Patreon member. But I hope those people that were in the eye of the tornado are okay. To me, I woke up this morning. Thank God, my family was safe. There was not a tornado in the immediate area. But I woke up, I looked out the window, I realized that my air-blown inflatable Star Wars holiday AT-AT was missing from my yard. And my Ring device, that captures all the motion in the front yard and around the house, the battery was on the charger. So my AT-AT's gone. I have no evidence. I have no proof on who could have done this, as Obi-Wan asked Yoda in episode 3. And I woke up this morning. I drove around the neighborhood, couldn't find it. Did this without having a first cup of coffee. Then I had, come back home, grabbed a cup of coffee, went out again on foot, couldn't find it. And I was beating myself up because this thing retailed for over $100. I never pay full price for these air balloon inflatables because I think they're overpriced. I think they're very high maintenance. They can be stolen from the yard. They can be destroyed by the weather elements, especially in the Midwest, in the yard. So I never, that is part of my Christmas collection that I would say is on the more incomplete side. But my brother Sean Hines, he's got the whole entire collection. So I wanted to give it one more look. So my third time out, I put on the Norway parka. I put on the Rays face mask because it keeps me warm. And I'm like, I'm going to find this. I'm going to find this thing. I walk around the cul-de-sac in which I live. And the last place that I looked was in my neighbor across the street in her yard. And I realized that she's got this marsh, like this ravine, if you will. And the AT-AT is sprawled out from front legs to back, laying in this marsh. So that means across the street with its base, its heavy-weighted base during this heavy wind that we have. I swear to God, I had this thing tied down enough. I had no idea. I said, there's no way possible that this thing could have sailed in the air like a balloon or a kite. So because once it's unplugged, it deflates. But sure enough, it ended up in the neighbor's yard. But the good news is that I got the inflatable AT-AT back. But it was talking about a stressful morning. Hopefully you guys are vaccinated. Hopefully you guys are well and safe. I know this holiday season is a lot different than last year. I feel like it's more festive. I feel like we're ready to get out and spend time with friends and family and just kind of leave the last almost 2 years at this point in March behind us. But there is this super cold going around. And that's another reason why I didn't want to go to C2E2, right? I didn't want the con crud, but if I was wearing the Cubby Fett at C2E2, I know I would be well protected because that's my mask at that point, right? I got the armor on, I got the gloves on, I got the mask on. I'm feeling pretty safe, 2 shots of the vaccination, ready for my booster at this point. But I went to Disney World 3 weeks ago, and I picked up a cold there that I am at the tail end of shaking. But hopefully you guys are washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, and being smart about things. Because I feel like in the last 4 weeks, I've known more people that have picked up COVID-19 than in the last year and a half. So the virus is alive and well. If you don't have the virus, you have what my brother and show producer Michael Wistock calls the 3-week super cold. And man, the super cold it is because there is not enough bourbon in this house to to shake down the super cold. You guys can always rely on, of course, under the counter, or go to your local liquor store, make yourself an old fashioned or a hot toddy, and hopefully knock that out. But again, happy birthday to my brother Sean Hines. I am a little disappointed I wasn't able to spend it with you, and I have to say I decline your invitation for me to spend the day at C2E2 with you tomorrow because I just don't feel like spending $45 to roam the convention floor in a Boba Fett costume is worth my money spent. I do have a problem, and my wife identified this problem for me. She had said that I'm a compulsive shopper, which she's right. You guys that are collectors, yeah, you can relate to that. And, I identified it as I have a hole in my wallet. And my daughter had said, Daddy, what does that mean? What's a hole in the wallet? And I said, well, that is where the money that you put in your wallet just, enters. It enters the wallet and it exits the wallet as quick as it came in. And I tell you, my Christmas collection is big. My Star Wars slash holiday mashup collection is growing. Like I said, I feel like it's bigger than Steven Sansweet at this point. And you guys, yes, you guys can take a look at this if you're a Patreon member of Mocktails from the Cantina. For only $5 a month, you get the podcast episode. You get your name entered into a name draw during the live shows. And you also get a video segment weekly of Inside the Wampa Cave. That is a look into my Star Wars collection. Now, if you guys are on a budget, what I would do is I would join for $1 a month, download all the content, and then end your subscription with Mocktails from the Cantina. I won't mind that. If you just get a taste. You guys got to get a taste first. I know I've been doing the live shows. I've been doing the YouTube shows, which I got a little burnt out on because of the editing process is so long. A lot of you guys that are in the movie business, a lot of you guys that do editing, you understand where I'm coming from on that. But hey, speaking about the holidays, let's get into the Muppet element of the holiday, which is a big one. I know my first introduction to nostalgia before Star Wars, right before Star Wars, was the Muppets. You know, Jim Henson had passed away. CBS had released this heart-drenching, emotional, episode of the passing away of Jim Henson. And it had sparked my nostalgia, if you will, to take a deep dive into my childhood. You know, I had lost my father when I was 7 years old, and the Muppet Show, Sesame Street, that was really, really big for me between when I was born up until he passed away in 1982. So when CBS released this Muppet tribute to Jim Henson, which you guys could check out on YouTube. You know, YouTube's great, man. I mean, you could check out all kinds of vintage television shows, if you will. Like today, I checked out Pink Panther Christmas, Garfield's Christmas, The Great Santa Claus Switch, which was the first holiday show that Jim Henson and the Muppets had did. But when I rediscovered the Muppets, one of the things that I had in my family collection was an ornament that featured the Electric Mayhem on one side and the rest of the Muppet Gang on the other side. Now, Hallmark had this great relationship with the Muppets from, right from the get-go. You know, I have a Muppet ornament, I believe it dates back to maybe 1979. You know, right after when the John Denver and the Muppet Christmas special was released. Now, of course, the relationship with Hallmark and Star Wars is kind of where it's at, and of course, Hallmark has a great connection with the Peanuts gang. I believe Hallmark owns the Peanuts because that's the only place where you can get the Snoopy memorabilia, really. And to me, the first Muppet Christmas special that I had seen was not John Denver and the Muppets. I remember hearing the 12 Days of Christmas from the Muppet Gang with John Denver, which is fantastic. And I was like, wait, when was this recorded? And of course, they did that holiday special that I had, seen, I think for the first time, it was in 1990. It was probably right after Henson passed away. And I had gotten some things, some Muppet things that my mother picked up at the Toys R Us, some plush animals. I got Animal, Kermit, Gonzo, and Fozzie Bear. And then I had seen, a year later, I was fortunate enough to see the Muppet Christmas Carol, with Michael Caine, that great take on the Charles Dickens classic. And that's become to me, that's been my Christmas Eve go-to movie since it came out in 1992. And of course, it's on Disney Plus now, and they re-released the soundtrack. There's a lot of great Marley and Marley. That's a great song. There's a lot. The soundtrack of that is awesome. And I remember on eBay, it was out of print when it was originally released, and that thing was selling like the Star Wars holiday, the Star Wars Christmas in the Star CD. That thing was selling for like $50 to $100. But I remember seeing the Muppet Christmas Carol in the theater. And man, that really took me back to my childhood. That was a heartfelt tribute to Richard Hunt, who had passed away right after Jim Henson. And Brian Henson, the son of Jim Henson, had produced and directed this show, this movie, with all the original Muppet cast that was still alive. I think at that point they only lost Jim, they only lost Richard. So it was just this, I mean, could you imagine your first production after the legendary Jim Henson passes away? Your boss, or the guy that really was a guru and a legend in that, in that genre of puppetry. And Richard Hunt, who played Scooter and a lot of other characters, it's kind of crazy that he had passed away shortly after Jim. But the film opens up with a tribute to the loving Jim Henson and the loving, a loving memory of Richard Hunt. So it already sets the tone. The music is just so heartfelt, and it just really captures what. And then you got the Charles Dickens classic. So you have the Muppets paying tribute to Jim Henson and paying tribute to Charles Dickens in the same special. I mean, it was definitely a moving moment, And just a couple years ago, the anniversary of that show, what was it? Probably the 25th anniversary. The Hallmark had released a Muppet Christmas ornament, which is great because Hallmark had released so many I wanted to say Star Wars. They've released a lot of Star Wars ornaments, probably more than any other ornament that they've released. But they had this really great collection of the early years of Muppets. And then they started doing this Muppet line of ornaments in 2008. They started it with Statler and Waldorf. And they did it every year. But see, the thing is, Hallmark does about 7 to 8 different Star Wars ornaments every year, right? It's Star Wars, right? So it's like, we got to capitalize on the fans. We got to capitalize on the market. Let's make it, plentiful, abundant of choices. With the Hallmark ornaments for the Muppets, they've only done one a year. So after seeing the Muppet Christmas Carol, and this was a year after I had seen John Denver and the Muppets, I had later on, a couple years later, found the Muppet Family Christmas, which I have to say, as much as I love the Muppet Christmas Carol, the Muppet Family Christmas is the mothership of them all, because it has the Muppets, it's got the Fraggles, it's got Sesame Street, and it's all three of those properties, if you will, come together in one grand episode. And remember, careful for that. Is it careful for that icy patch, or be careful of that icy patch? Everybody slips on that icy patch coming into the doorway. The Muppet Family Christmas is just the best and my favorite episode, because it's all encompassing of. And then at the end of the episode, before they have the Muppet Family sing along, where they're singing all the Christmas carols, I believe it's actually after that, Sprocket, the dog from Fraggle Rock, and Jim Henson himself are doing the dishes in the kitchen. You really can't get better than that. But going back to the first episode that the Hensons had released. Jim Henson, I will say Henson, right? His wife Jane was a big part of it as well. But Jim Henson had released the Great Santa Claus Switch. That came out in 1970. That starred Art Carney, who you guys remember as God, I should know his character's name, but he was in the Star Wars Holiday Special. So there's that Muppet Star Wars mashup, right? Aside from Frank Oz playing Yoda and Miss Piggy, Art Carney. Art Carney was a huge actor back in the day. But Art Carney plays Santa Claus, the good one and the bad one. Gonzo makes his debut, and the Underworld Muppets are introduced as the Fraggles. And the crazy thing is, the Fraggles were not really mentioned until, that I know of anyway, until HBO released Fraggle Rock in the mid 80s, 1984, 1985. That's the cool thing about Jim Henson. George Lucas had done that too. He had always gone back to his earlier ideas and earlier creations, and had kind of, stuck with his original plan. But I that's what I recommend. Top 3. Definitely check out Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Family Christmas, John Denver and the Muppets. Those are 3 top quality Muppet Christmas time shows. Now, Jim Henson had also done the Christmas Toy. The Christmas Toy was a book that was released sometime before 86, because that's when Jim Henson did the TV show, right? And then later on, they released it on DVD. They took Kermit the Frog out. You can see that on YouTube. And that's a great thing about YouTube. You can see all this stuff in its original form. But the Christmas Toy, not written by Jim Henson, but definitely the Toy Story before Toy Story. It's about a toy being replaced. And we can all relate to that. I'm seeing that with my daughter right now. She got a toy for Christmas a couple years ago. It ends up in the toy box. What's the new toy? What's the new toy for you guys? For me, I told my wife not to buy anything because I've been spending so much money on Star Wars shit, Star Wars and baseball stuff, that it doesn't make sense for me to tell her to buy me more stuff, because I already have what I need, And remember, it's only material things. It's only things. We can live without these things. So reeling it into Star Wars, right? Because this is a Star Wars oriented show. I'm a Star Wars fan, first and foremost. I've been known to say that I do love the Muppets more than Star Wars, but that's just because I was introduced to the Muppets before I was introduced to Star Wars. But Star Wars during Christmas time goes hand in hand. You have Christmas, which is super nostalgic, and I don't care what kind of Star Wars fan you are. I don't care if you're an OT fan, you're a prequel fan, even if you're a sequel fan. All right, if you're a sequel fan and sequel fan only, yeah, you really can't say that Star Wars is nostalgic to you, because the sequels are not that old. So you'd be kind of lying to yourself, and you would be showing that you really don't know the definition of nostalgia. But Star Wars has a strong element of nostalgia, as well as the holiday season. There's that we need a little Christmas right this very minute. No, it's not that song. There is one Christmas song. I don't know. There's so many, they blend together, but there's going to be Tales from Christmas Past. The glories of Christmas past long, long ago. Christmas is super nostalgic. So the fact that, and I've said this before, but when we grew up as kids, between 1978 and 1982, Star Wars was a huge, huge thing, especially during Christmas time. Star Wars toys were the thing to get. And then, yes, I've said G.I. Joe and He-Man have kind of, killed that. And, people grew up, they got into girls, whatnot. But the fact, years later, even when the prequels were released, during Christmas time, we'd break out the Christmas tree, we'd put the Star Wars Christmas ornaments on it. Hallmark would release the prequel ornaments for that year, and we'd want prequel things underneath our Christmas tree. The fact that Disney decided to release the sequels and the greatest Star Wars film. I don't want to say I don't know. Do I say the greatest Star Wars film ever made? My favorite Star Wars film to date, Rogue One. The fact that these came out during Christmas time, it only made sense to feel the Star Wars magic on top of the Christmas magic. It went hand in hand. It was like a perfect marriage. And that is why, I do an annual Star Wars Christmas party every year, which we will be broadcasting that live through Facebook, through YouTube on Wednesday, December 22nd. We're going to have a lot of guests in the house. And just to run through the schedule real quick, this Monday, December 13th, my good friend and yours, Mr. Billy McInerney, Jimmy Mac's brother from Rebel Force Radio, him and I will be discussing our favorite Christmas records, just like Glenn Nelson and I did last week on Music Monday. These are free. You don't have to be a Patreon member to watch these. But you do have to be a Patreon member to support the show and get all the extra bonus content. And then on the 18th, I have a great lineup. I have a triple bill of heavy hitters. I have Jason Swain from Rebel Force Radio joining me. He is going to do the Chris Mocked Christmas questionnaire. You guys know him, all about him through Rebel Force Radio, and you know his Star Wars likes and dislikes. But on MACHTAILS from the Cantina, I am going to talk to him about his love and his likes and his dislikes about the holiday season. So it's going to be a very, very personal chat. We're also going to talk about music with him, holiday music with him. Dan Manson, the former Star Wars fan club president, as well as the Star Trek fan club president, my good friend that was in The Force Among Us, and the real fans of the saga, he's going to join us. And we're going to stop in Malfunction Junction and talk to my good drunken Star Wars buddy, John Duffy. It ain't a party until John Duffy shows up, and he will be here on Saturday the 18th. And then, of course, we're going to wrap up the show, the live show for the annual year of 2021 with episode 12 on Wednesday, December 22nd. It's going to be a lot of drunken tomfoolery, holiday hijinks on that show. A lot of great guests. I hope that Jimmy Mac is here. He says he's going to be here, but as you know, things happen. Now I want to wrap up the show with a little discussion on the Book of Boba Fett. Okay, we got The Mandalorian during the holiday season, which was great because, it picked up where Episode 9 left off as far as the release date goes. And we're getting the Book of Boba Fett right after the holiday season, which I got to tell you guys, make sure you check out Hallmark. They have a Book of Boba Fett ornament, which is weird because Boba Fett is sitting on a throne, Jabba's throne. And I had an observation the other day. This throne is so tiny. Have you guys seen Jabba's ass in Return of the Jedi? There was 12 puppeteers inside that puppet. How can Boba Fett take up that whole throne? You know what? It does not make sense to me. Did he say, you know what, I want to shave off a portion of this? I don't know. You know, maybe, is this that cannot be the scale to the real Jabba the Hutt throne. There is no way, impossible. But I love Tamora Morrison, and every time I see Tim, yes, Matthew had chimed in Rogue One over Empire Strikes Back. You know what, Matthew? That is a very, very good point. Uh, Empire Strikes Back, yes, it is still my number one favorite film. And I know it bounces back between Rogue One and Empire. If you take the nostalgia out of Empire Strikes Back, I feel like, you know, you don't really, if the nostalgia is removed from Empire, I feel like it's a great film. Rogue One is nostalgia and that much more. I feel like Empire is just pure nostalgia. I know, God, yeah, you calling me out. Wow, Rogue One over ESP. You know what? They really, really go hand in hand. They are two of my favorite films. And Jeremy David had said, can I share this? Jeremy, of course. Of course you can share this. I want you to share this. I want you guys to not only share this episode, but I want you to become a Patreon member. And like I said, $2 a month gets you the weekly podcast episodes. And if you're smart and if you're on a budget, join me on Patreon. Download all the episodes and jump off. You get 52 episodes for $2. That breaks down into less than 10 cents. I'm not doing the math right here. Matthew says Rogue One is my favorite of the Disney era, by the way. You know, Matthew, that's a good point. And I feel like a lot of people say that that's their favorite Disney era film. You know, I got to say it's more than that. You know, I love Return of the Jedi. I love A New Hope. I love the prequels. But I feel like Rogue One is just a mix of all that and then some. You know, I don't know. I do respect people that say that's their favorite Disney era movie, which I think that's kind of a no-brainer, right? Because a lot of people started hating on 7, 8, and 9. God, I've really gotten off track. I forgot where I left off from before I got on these rants about Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back. But you know, I really don't hate 7, 8, 9. I know it's hard to not say that you don't like Episode 8 because how can you disagree with Mark Hamill himself? I know he was very, very disappointed with his character in that film. But just to see Mark Hamill to reprise the role of Luke Skywalker, I drank the Kool-Aid. And I said, I love it. I love it. You know, I know Mark Hamill hated what they did with that character, but I feel like towards the end of that, when he comes back and he tells Carrie Fisher, and Carrie Fisher had already passed away at this point, nobody's ever really gone. I mean, that is one of the top 10 emotional moments. I was going to say top 5, but let's say top 10 emotional moments. Yes, because Carrie Fisher had passed away, but I believe, I don't know, was that scene between Mark and Carrie? Was that line that he delivered to Carrie Fisher? Was that filmed after Carrie had passed away? It only makes sense if it was, you know? But if it wasn't, it's even more magical, right? I don't know. There were some really, really good things that I liked about the sequels. I don't believe that they deserved to be hated on. And if you hate on those sequels, you know, you're kind of missing out. You know, you're kind of missing out. I remember where I was before I went off on this track. Book of Boba Fett. It is super strange to see Tamora Morrison as Boba. I know Boba Fett is the byproduct, the clone of Django. And being a prequel fanatic, it's hard to not see Tim as a clone trooper or as Django Fett, you know? And of course, Danny Logan's out there still doing his bounty boxes on Facebook. God bless him. And if you, God, speaking about God blessing people, if Jeremy Bullock was still with us, you know damn well that he would have a cameo in the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, David Prowse always signed his autograph. David Prowse is Boba Fett. You could say that Jeremy himself, yes, he is Boba Fett. But of course, he's no longer with us. I'm so fortunate that I got to interview him for The Force Within Us. You guys could catch that on Amazon. It used to be on Amazon Prime. Still might be there. But it's weird to see Tem as Boba and not Django. We've never seen Boba Fett without his helmet off. Not live action anyway. So but it's not a bad thing, because I feel like when I first watched the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett, I was like, okay, this feels like The Mandalorian. Okay, Dave Filoni is picking up where he left off. And Jon Favreau, you gotta, speaking about Jon Favreau in the holidays, you gotta go watch Elf. That is a great film. I feel like what Jon Favreau did to Elf is very much like what he did for Star Wars and The Mandalorian. I mean, Elf is such a great film. So funny, but there's such a serious side to it. It's like a fanboy Christmas movie, And I just think that's what Jon Favreau does. So when I saw the trailer, I'm like, okay, they're picking up where they left off with the feel of The Mandalorian. It's going to be great. It's still so strange to see Tem as Boba. And I feel like Tem, when he redelivered the lines that Jeremy Wingreen? Is it Wingreen or Wintergreen? The late great Jason Wingreen. He was the original voice of Boba Fett in The Empire Strikes Back. So when Tem redelivered his lines in like the 7th remake of, Empire Strikes Back, I just felt like it was not the same, It was just kind of short and to the point, if you will. Very much, I guess, like a clone trooper would do, But I'm super excited about it. I'm so happy that we are getting Star Wars still during the holiday season. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much to listening to this second take, if you will, because the first recording I had completely botched. I forgot to add myself to the stream. Usually I do this live. Usually I do this with my good friend Tyler Page. But I figured, I'm going to do a video. I'm going to make this a podcast, audio only. I'm going to throw this up on Facebook Live. And the thing is that I forgot to add myself to the stream. Hey, you live and you learn. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just a fanboy / hobbyist. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. I hope you guys have $2 in your pocket to head on over to MACHTAILS from the Cantina, the Patreon campaign of this show, which I'm going to continue all through 2022. Again, you get for $2 a month, you get the weekly podcast show. For $5 a month, you get the weekly podcast show. You get the look inside the Wampa Cave, which is my man cave where my Star Wars collection is housed. I release a weekly episode on that. You also get your name entered into a name draw where you get to win a prize on the live shows that I do. And 1138 chat gets you a one-on-one with myself, gets you a Inside the Vault segment, which is a deep dive into a behind-the-scenes look into an element of one of my many film projects. And you can also become a producer like my good friends Kurt Holman and Michael Wistock. You get yourself an IMDb credit, and you get to become a show producer along with a lot of other perks. So definitely, I feel like it's good money well spent. I know we have a lot of free content out there for you guys to enjoy. But hey, help keep the show alive. It's Christmas time. Maybe you're in a giving spirit. Maybe you're in a giving mode. Head on over, and if you stay with us long enough, you can also get some really, really cool swag. So, hey guys, wash your hands, treat each other well. Hopefully you're on the nice list and not the naughty list, unless you're saving the naughty side for the bedroom. Then the naughty list is always a plus for that side. And remember, this show is more targeted towards people that are 21 and over. And if you were drinking tonight, please drink responsibly. Please drink only if you're 21 and over. And remember, there is always tomorrow. We want to end the show. On a cheers to you. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Merry Christmas. And we will catch you guys next time on an episode of Mocktails from the Cantina. Another round. Be well, be safe. And we will catch you guys next time. So long, everybody.